How's everybody doing today? This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave. I have a really special show to you today. And the reason why we're bringing this show to you is because we're getting ready to roll into a new year. And we know that normally towards the end of the year, a lot of people started utilizing a lot of their credit, and they're going to roll into the new year with a lot of, I would say, charges or a lot of usage done to their credit. And it can impact their credit score going into 2023. And that can impact how they're going to be able to move around the world and the economy. And credit is something that a lot of times we're very weak at because we just don't necessarily understand how to navigate the space properly. So what we wanted to bring on was a credit expert, somebody that really understands how to navigate the credit space properly. They can help you in this particular area, and they can make it to where your 2023 can be a lot more carefree and a lot more stress-free because you understand how to get your credit situation in properly. So today we brought in Victoria, also known as a credit solutionist. And she's going to really talk about how you can boost your credit score around 200 points in 2023. And what we want to really try to get you to do is understand how to navigate the situation properly, to not put yourself into a lot of trouble. Because in this economy that we're living in my opinion, credit is essential if you choose to use it. If you don't choose to use it, you just want to go straight cash, that's cool too. But if you do choose to use credit, it can really benefit you if you understand how to utilize it properly. So we're going to kind of get her to give us a better understanding of how to utilize our credit properly, how she can help us in this particular area, so that as you go into the new year, you're not worrying about everything you did in 2022, and then it keeps following you from year to year, from situation to situation. So Victoria, how you doing? I really appreciate you coming through.
What is going on? Hey, all right, there I am. Hey,
Yeah, there you go.
everybody. Hey, Dave. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. Super excited because we're going to talk about some really basic steps people need to take to get that credit score increase because it is going to matter in 2023 and beyond.
How you doing? So I know you had asked me about you speaking through the mic. So you were, but it seems once you pulled it up, it went away. The mic.
Uh-oh. See, this is
No
what
problem.
you know. Mike, hold on.
Yeah, so I think your headphone mic is working, but I don't know if the one in front of you is working. Let's see.
How about now?
There you go. There you go. So it's coming in loud and clear.
Yeah.
Okay, now we got it. Okay.
So
Yeah,
funny. Thank
so
y'all.
no problem. So would you go ahead and introduce yourself again so everybody may not have heard you?
All right, y'all. So I'm Victoria, owner of PX Credit Solutions here in the state of Virginia, and I am also known as the Credit Solutionist on all my social media. If you Google it, you'll find me, all right? I basically help people that have made credit mistakes in the past and also people that want to establish credit profiles and really get themselves going, whether you want to buy a car, a house, you want to go to school, whatever you want to do. If you just want to stack credit, you might not be my ideal client, but I will help you along the way. So whether it's doing credit repair by disputing with the bureaus or just doing consultations, if you feel like you need help with your credit journey, I'm the one that you want to call. All right. So that's pretty much what we do: consultations and credit repair.
Okay, definitely. So let's get right into it. So based on your experience in a particular space, what do you think is like the number one thing people get wrong about their credit?
Number one thing people get wrong about their credit, I would say, is that people don't really know how to utilize it, move it around when necessary. They don't know there's actually a few things here. They don't really know what a good credit profile looks like because a good credit score is subjective. Hate to tell y'all that, but it is. The other thing that people don't know is that they are in more control of their credit score and their credit profile than they believe. So yeah, I would say that's the number one thing. People don't know how much control they actually have over it.
Okay, so what do you think the average person thinks a good credit profile is?
Most people focus solely on the score alone, which you are really at a disservice. You're doing a disservice to yourself by doing that, because if you think about it, I like to say that a credit report and a credit score, or the credit score, is more like your dating profile. It's like the picture. It's like a profile picture. It literally tells people what you look like at your best, right?
Okay.
But once you go on that date and get to know that person, you get to see the layers of who they actually are. What are some of their quirks? What do they really look like? Is that picture 5 or 6 years old, right? That's the credit report. Okay. So your score could be amazing, but let's say you only have two credit cards and you're trying to go buy a house. Well, your 700 credit score might look good on the surface, but your credit mix and your actual credit report is not telling the lender what they need to know as far as, can you make this mortgage payment? So I hope that makes sense, y'all. Your credit score is literally just the surface. The credit report is what truly matters.
Okay. So you would say the credit report is kind of like what's on the actual report, and then your score is just like a number. But doesn't the score represent the activity on the report, or is it something totally different?
It does represent the activity on the report. However, it's basically, you have to kind of look at it like, okay, like I said, if you're going for a car, having just a credit, like a revolving credit card, that might get you somewhere. It's not going to get you as far as it possibly could, because you're not really showing that you are a multifaceted borrower, for lack of a better term. You're not really showing that you have experience in other areas of lending. So lenders are going to look at you a little bit hesitant, because they're taking a chance on you.
Okay.
So to speak. Now, like I said, if you're going to get a house or something like that, having 2 credit cards isn't going to help you. The 700 credit score will get you through the door. Okay. That's like your resume, but it's the interview that's going to get you the job. Again, the interview is the credit report. Okay. So I hope I'm explaining this clearly, because you have to look at what your credit score is actually made up of. And that's how the lender decides whether or not they want to do business with you.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
But that's really it. And like I said, it's more of a report card for you. So it's very easy to have a 690 and still have a collection or a late payment on your credit report. But it depends on how long ago it happened. It depends on what it was for. Was it a utility versus a credit card? Was it an eviction? Was it rent versus maybe, I don't know, not paying an installment note or something like that? Like it just depends on what those negative marks are and what those positive marks are. So it's not really an answer that you can, there's no blanket answer for that. But your credit score is dependent upon what is actually on your credit report. That is true. But I will say this, the other thing we need to consider is that your credit score with TransUnion is not going to be the same as your credit score with Equifax.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying, do not rely on that so much. And please, for the life of me, do not use Credit Karma, because you will cry if you apply for a score or apply for a product based on that score. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. The score itself, yes, it says a lot, but the lender is always going to look at the makeup of your credit report.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. So I have a credit report, and we understand it's not the same as my credit score, even though the score does represent what's on the report. But what are and I know this is going to be kind of a blanket explanation, but what do you believe when the lender is looking at the credit report? So let's say I'm going for a house or a car. What is the report? What should the report be communicating to the lender?
The report should be communicating a few things. It should be communicating, number one, that you've had these accounts for quite some time, not a ton of time, but at least about a year, maybe 2 years, because most lenders are only looking back about maybe 2 to 5 years at max, but generally about 2. So they're going to be looking at that. They're going to be wanting to know, do you pay your bills on time? They're going to want to know, do you pay your bills in full? Do you have any high running balances? They want to know, again, how many different types of credit accounts you have. So what kind of debt are you used to actually working with? Because a lot of people, for some reason, think that a creditor can tell what your income is by looking at your credit report, but they cannot. So I want to just dispel that rumor. Your income is not reported on your credit report at all. Okay. So that's not on there, but they are looking for just your habits as a borrower. That's really, for the most part, that's it. Is there a lot of weird information, like a bunch of, say you put maybe 2 former addresses on an application, but they asked you for 7. If those 7, aren't on your actual application, sometimes they will compare and contrast what you tell them versus what is on the application. So there's a lot of different layers to it, right? But the general thing is, are you a responsible borrower? That's it. Do you pay your bills?
Okay, understand. And do you think that there are types of accounts? So let's say we heard that medical accounts, and those necessarily not being up to date, don't necessarily always speak to you not paying your bills as much as maybe having an eviction or something of that nature. So do we think that based on who that lender is, who that particular person that may be going to lend you the money, do they sometimes look at different categories of debt or history different than they look at others?
Absolutely. With the medical, something really interesting is about to happen. So next year, I believe it begins January 1st, because it started in July of this year, but starting January 1st, I believe each medical facility has to wait until you're in collections for at least a year before they will actually report it to the Bureau. The other thing is that medical expenses that are, or medical collections that are $500 and less will not appear on your report at all. Generally speaking, you cannot control what happens with your health for the most part. So lenders are not going to really hold you responsible for that. But if your entire credit report is made up of medical collections, that could be an issue, right? So it all depends on the lender themselves. So medical is definitely something that's a little touch and go because again, disability status, things like that, those are protected classes. So you can't necessarily, it's a slippery slope, okay? And it really just depends on how you want to handle it. Because I can't prove that you disqualified me for that loan because of my medical collections.
Okay,
but then again, if you did, I don't know. I could probably work out and get a case somehow, but that's a lot of work. Now, student loans are another thing that a lot of people think matter, but they do not.
Okay.
Your student loans really only play a part in whether or not you're going to get approved if you are not paying them. If your student loans are in default, no, people are not going to want to give you extra money, especially not for a house, because you've already proven that you cannot handle large debt, right?
Okay.
Now, and there's too many other options with student loans to keep them under control for you to not take care of it. So student loans, if you have the debt and it's, always paid on time, you're okay. If you default, yes. Okay. Let's see if there's something else. I would say that's probably about the only other two areas because, if you have collections as far as utilities, if you have credit cards, if you are in check systems because you've gone, you've overdrawn and closed out bank accounts, there's really no way to get around that stuff, you guys. Like the only thing that's going to work in your favor is if those accounts are truly super old. And then if you have been building and burying the bad news, which is what I like to call it, that's opening positive accounts to push all the negative stuff down.
Okay.
I hope that makes sense. It gets deep and it just depends on everybody. Like the way we would handle it and the way I can answer that question is highly dependent on what your credit report is made up of.
Okay.
Because you may have something going on that the next person doesn't. So I'm going to tell you two different things.
I understand. It's going to be person to person. I understand.
Yeah, I know. And this is where people be like, all right, I got to talk to you on the phone separate because now,
Yeah, so they can get their specific situation.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so but let me ask you. So when a person doesn't really understand, right? A person doesn't know what they get wrong about credit. How do you think that negatively impacts their life because they don't know what they're getting wrong about credit?
The biggest thing I see, like people are afraid to dive in because they feel like credit is for people with money.
Okay.
They think that, they're afraid of that bill, when they start to charge things up. They know that they can't pay it back. That's a big thing we have. So financial literacy is just out the window with a lot of people because I think they're just intimidated. That's really all it is. It's just we don't understand it, so we don't want to touch it. Or our grandmother told us having credit is like a sin or something like that. And it's like, no, it's not. That's how most people get things these days. So that's really it. I would say most people are just afraid because they don't know. It's just uncharted territory for a lot of people. The other thing I notice is the people that maybe have made some mistakes, they're afraid to dive back in because maybe they haven't refined their spending habits and really taken account of the mistakes that they made. So they don't really know how to clean it up. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of afraid they're going to make the same mistakes again.
I can understand, but let me ask you. So do you think people should be taught before they receive credit cards, like the goal of credit? Because when I got my first credit card, I just thought it was just to buy stuff. I didn't understand like how to, building a credit profile, things of that nature. So I didn't even really use it until I like had an emergency that I had to use it. Because I didn't know what it was for. And so for a very long time, I didn't even have a credit history because I didn't use a credit card. So then when I finally went to go get a credit card, when I finally went to go get a car, I found out I didn't have a credit history because I had never even used a card. I used to just do everything with cash. So do you think that before a person even receives credit, right, or receives any type of financing, should they be educated on what credit is used for, how it can help you, things of that nature? Because often we don't even know what it's for, so we can be using it, but not understanding what should I be working towards with my credit? Like, what's the goal of having good credit and things of that nature?
Right. A lot of that happens because just like without being too, a lot of us don't own anything. So that is why a lot of us don't know about credit and we're not taught about credit. Now, your parents are not going to sit there and tell you, oh, I had to have good credit to actually, rent this apartment that we're sitting in.
Yeah.
So again, financial literacy and people just being open and honest with their children. So as far as like I'm sorry, your question is like, what can you do or how can a person become more comfortable with it before they go out into the world?
Yeah, like what should they be knowing about it before they start? Because so let me give an example. You can be a teenager with no credit history and go get an unsecured loan to go to school,
Right.
but not necessarily know how that's going to impact you the rest of your life. So if I knew as a young person, this is what I should be trying to accomplish with credit, then I can maybe build it out properly as a young person, as opposed to getting in a situation I got to try to work my way out of it.
I got you. I would say this, the first thing that a child needs to understand, again, it depends on what school district you're in, but I was taught how to write a check at 10 years old.
Okay.
Now, granted, that was because I was in a gifted program in school. So I know that my counterparts did not actually get that same information. I, again, think that this falls on the parents and the school system. But what a kid could do, let's say you're working, you get a summer job. The very first thing you need to do, instead of getting an account with Bank of America, you need to be going to your local credit union.
Okay.
And opening an account if they will let you. If they will not, you need to go to your parents and say, Mom, Dad, whomever, can you please open an account with this credit union and then let me have an account as a child, right? So that's one way that we could do it because that will set you up. You have to be very crafty, to be quite honest, because okay. So that's the first thing. Your parents need to get you set up, okay? We're not talking about putting you on a utility bill as a baby because we all know what happens there.
Yeah.
I have a lot of clients that had collections at 17 and didn't even know it because of that. So that's not the way to do it. We want to open up accounts at credit unions. The other thing is there are some debit card products out there where children can actually have the debit card and swipe it. And every time that they pay the bill, it actually does count as like kind of like a credit building product. So there are things out there now for kids. Okay. So that's another thing. Again, children just need to be exposed to people that can teach them these things. They need to know the very first apartment that you get, you are probably going to pay quite a high deposit because you have no history.
Yeah.
Right. So it's realistically, you got to have money before you go out into the streets. I guess that's the best way to say it, because with or without the credit, you're still going to be paying quite a bit out the gate if you didn't learn just some of the basic stuff that I just said. Get a bank account. If you have a job, let's say you work at Macy's. I worked at Macy's when I was like 17.
Okay.
Macy's, they may not still do this, and this is really just find jobs that do these kinds of things. And you only know this by asking questions as a teenager. So at Macy's, what they would do for us under 18s, they would give us a prepaid credit card, right? Mm-hmm. So they're already reporting it every time I go buy clothes every Friday when I get paid, right? When I turned 18, Macy's was gracious enough to turn that into a regular credit card.
Yeah.
So I had my first credit card at like 18, y'all. So you got to get in the right places, in the right spaces to set yourself up, because you cannot always rely on your parents. Okay. So I know that answer was all over the place, Dave, but really it is, kids need to start Googling, start finding out ways that you can actually start your credit journey with or without your parents, because some of them aren't going to help us. That's just how it is. You got to get educated because the school ain't going to do it. And some of our families just don't know any better. So
I understand. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I feel like I'm talking a lot.
No, you're making sure, because what you just talked about was really good information, especially the credit union stuff, because I'm a member of a credit union. That's been very beneficial to me pretty much my whole life. That's why I keep my credit union membership, even though I have other banking institutions, because they offer things to you that the average bank would not offer.
Right.
Definitely. So let's say we got person X in society, right? Mm-hmm. And they want to improve their credit score. So what are 3 to 5 things that you can suggest that they should do to improve that goal?
Okay. So number 1, the credit union. Okay. That's number 1. You said we want 5?
3 to 5, please.
All right. So number 1, you better get with a credit union. If you can get with more than one, please do. Number 1 reason is because, again, these are member funded institutions. They literally want to keep the money in and they want to loan money out. Okay. And you will get the lowest interest rates with credit unions. Okay. And they are more gracious because they can see your money come in and out. So they are going to approve you a lot faster than some random credit card company will. Okay. When you go for a product, a house, a car, whatever. So that's number one, get with a credit union. Number two, once you get with said credit union, even if you're with the bank, you can still do the same thing. Take $500 to $1,000 and get yourself a secured credit card.
Okay.
Okay. This is where I start to say you have more control over your credit profile than you give yourself credit for. No pun intended. But it's like you could literally get a credit card. Okay. So that's two things that you already did. All right. So you have your secure credit card reporting. Number three, you need to go get yourself a self-funded installation note, which is basically, or installment, which is something like self-lender. You could do kickoff. You could do any of those. And what that is essentially is they open up a bank account for you. It's a collateral account. Every payment that you make into that collateral account goes towards an on-time payment on your credit report.
Okay.
Okay. So now you have a credit card because you got your secure credit card. You got your installment account because you opened up your self-lender or your kickoff. Okay. And then you have your credit union. So you're already in the game. Like you're already starting to become visible to these creditors. Okay. So those are the three things that I would say you need to do 100%. Let's say, I mean, if you want, you can try to apply for an outside credit card with like, I don't know, I wouldn't go to American Express. I would probably do maybe Capital One. They're not the best, but you could do a Capital One student card if you're in school. There's just a lot of different ways, but those are the main three things I would say that you need to do.
Okay.
You know.
Okay, so let me ask you a question about the credit, because you gave us three core things, and I think that'll give people something to take home and start working on. So let me ask you about the credit union. Mm-hmm. So when I got put on with the credit union, it was because my mother was she was employed by the county. So that's how I was able to get in. Do credit unions let you come in? I'm still with that same. No, okay, I'm sorry. I'm not with that credit union anymore, but I got with the credit union. I went to college. So when I was in college, we had a college credit union. So I still bank with them now. In fact, I even have accounts with them, multiple accounts with them. Do credit unions allow outside people that are not in that relationship to come in? And I'm not sure because, like I said, I've always got in through my relationship with somebody else or because I was a member of an organization. So do they allow me just to walk in and just say, I want to put an application in?
Hey, that's touch and go because I got some Navy Federal videos on my channel. Okay. And I tell people, go to Navy Fed at your own risk because I have all my documentation. The best thing that you can do, go ahead and look at the, look at their requirements to join the credit union. Typically, yes, they are more association focused, like a teacher, Hollywood, actors, military, aerospace, whatever. They have like all different kinds of industries. I got in because my mom worked for the phone company, right?
Okay.
So, but they also have credit unions where all you have to do is live in the city or the county. You just got to be somewhere in that municipality and you're good to go. So it really is just getting out there and doing the legwork. There's also, I just did a video on my channel talking about DCU. Right. So now with DCU, I believe you do have to be in the area or you have to be associated with a particular organization. But their list of employers that you have to be affiliated with is like 500 names long. Somebody in this chat is affiliated with one of them companies. Right. So it's just getting out there, doing your due diligence and making sure, and because credit unions are here to help you. Right. Like, I don't have nothing against the big three, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, right? Nothing against them. It's just that I do notice that they are not as generous as a credit union would be, right? I've had a business account with Chase for like 3 years now. They just barely sent me a Business Inc. application, but it was for a new company that I opened. So credit unions are the way to go, y'all. But yeah, just go to a local credit union, Google credit unions in your area. Google's listening, y'all. Sorry. So yeah, Google it and see what the stipulations are or the requirements. There's no excuse, y'all. Just get it done.
Okay, that's good. Because I would hear people say, all these ways of doing credit with Navy Federal, but I thought you had to be a veteran to go to Navy Federal. I didn't think you could just walk in there just as a regular person. So that's why I never really understood why they kept telling people that.
No, and that's the thing, Dave. You can't. You can't just walk in there like a regular person.
Okay.
Navy Federal, I'm going to just say it without saying, or I'm going to just say it. They've been slipping and like they've been letting people in. But the thing is, Navy Federal at any time has the right to audit your account, ask you for documentation. And if you don't have it, you will get canceled. So do that at your own risk. But It's super simple. If you just live with somebody that has Navy Federal, if you're a child or a really close family member of somebody in the service, you could do that.
Okay.
You work for the Department of Defense, you can get in. There's a million and one ways to skin this cat. And Navy Fed is not the only player in the game, y'all. Like, there's credit unions. Literally, I'm in a super small town. There's a credit union on almost every corner out here. And yes, I got with them too. So
okay, I feel you. Okay, so let me ask you about, so you talk about credit union, secure card, and self-funded installation notes. So let me ask you a question, because you're on YouTube, you're on social media, and you hear about all these strategies to try to improve your credit, right? And we hear about stuff like trade lines, things of that nature. Are those more complex strategies, or are those something that you don't necessarily recommend for the average person to get involved in?
I would say don't do that if you're just going to one of those websites and you're just buying a bunch of trade lines. Because number one, you don't know where they came from. That's number one. That's kind of a gray area. We don't know if that's legal or illegal, because it seems like the FTC and like whomever else is not really making a lot of strides to shut these businesses down. But just the fact that I don't know who owns the credit card, and I don't know if they're going to close it at any time or stop paying the bill or whatever, or if that person died. How about that? Because a trade line is essentially you're borrowing or piggybacking on someone else's credit profile and credit history, right? Again, I could just see, because I have a compliance mind, I could see so many areas where that could go wrong. Because imagine you're on some dead person's credit profile, right? Once they delete all that, all your credit history went out the door because you were piggybacking off of that person. The second thing is, if there's 50 years of credit history on there and you're only 18, lenders are not stupid. They're looking at this stuff and they're comparing and contrasting now, because they know people are using those strategies, right? The other thing is, if it's a trade line and you're nothing but an authorized user, you do not have power on that account. So if I look at that, like say I'm an underwriter or something and I'm looking at that, I'm not going to trust you, because the account owner is the person that's making those payments, not you. Okay. There's a good chance. I would say there's a good chance you would have to show me somehow that you're making those payments, right? So, and realistically, if you're going to do the trade line or piggybacking thing, do it with somebody that you know. Like, I've let friends piggyback on my credit, right? Whether or not they choose to pay me, we could talk about that offline. However, you could totally do that. But again, lenders are catching on. So I wouldn't say to necessarily do that. You really need to learn how to build it on your own. Like let's stop taking shortcuts, because at some point we still gonna have to learn this credit game. I don't know if you mentioned it, but CPNs.
I was gonna read this. I didn't know if you want me to bring that up, but go ahead and get into it.
No, we got to, because I know somebody's gonna see this now or on the replay. If y'all don't stop doing this CPN stuff, this is one thing I will never promote on my channel, because I know you've heard Erica Williams or other people talk about it before. CPNs are literally for people that are witness protection, right? Celebrities, political
federal
figures.
Agents.
Yeah, exactly. And informants, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you are none of those things and you did not actually apply for that paperwork, you are stealing identities. Okay? You have now effectively stolen an identity. Okay? And if those people who you are, getting money from, they're lending to you, if they have somebody in that office that's anything like me, because I'm also an auditor, I'm a liaison between property managers and HUD, I look at finances. If they got somebody like me on that team, you going to jail. I'm just, because if you can't back up why you're using somebody else's identity, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? You're 20 years old. Why do you have a false identity already? Why? So it's illegal. That's what I'm getting at, Dave.
And understand. I think a lot of people, this is the challenge that a lot of us have, is that we can be in such a bad state financially and looking for a quick solution,
right?
And be told the CPN is the way to do it. And you're right. There are some people that utilize it, but for the average person, you're being sold a CPN. You're being sold what you're being told is a CPN, but just like you said, what you're really being sold is somebody's stolen identity. And they're pulling this off of dead people. They're getting I would call them people that are kind of like on the fringes of society, and getting their, if they have any kind of identity, getting their identity profile and then using that and then selling that to you. And you may not be aware of that. is massive. It's really, really massive. And I want to
Yeah.
just get people to understand it's being shown as a solution to a credit problem, but it can sometimes put you in more of a complicated issue once it gets out that that's what you were doing. And you may not be aware that somebody sold you a stolen identity.
Yeah, it's like putting like bubble gum in a leaky boat hole or something. I'm sure there's a better way to say that, but you know what I'm saying.
Understand?
It's like a temporary solution, and it's not even a solution. It's literally just it's illegal activity that's gonna get you put away, and it's gonna get the person that sold it to you put away. Because I feel like, honestly speaking, if I could be candid, in our community, for some reason, we're always kind of, I don't want to say always, but more times than not, we're looking for the hookup. We're looking for the way around something, when the truth of the matter is we need to go through these problems instead of trying to go around them or just walking through blindly. The best thing that we can do is truly get educated, because like I was saying, the credit game, I hate to say that because the credit game, but the credit game is not that difficult, right?
Okay.
Like I told you, I work with people that are at the foundation of it. So once you get the foundation set up, you're going to be okay. And you can start doing these little tricks, tips and tricks and stuff like that. No CPNs, but you can do things and kind of move things around to get where you want to go. But you're not going to escape having to build that foundation. You're just not going to be able to do it.
Okay.
So stop the shortcuts, y'all.
Okay. And I'm glad you said that, because there are people on this YouTube that are promoting CPNs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really weird to me because you're on YouTube with your face promoting something that's illegal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's just what people are doing. Like, that's just the way we're doing it now with this YouTube. And I could understand you doing it offline, but I wouldn't understand why you would build a whole YouTube channel telling people I can get you a CPN without you really. And we know that for most of these people, they're just giving you a stolen identity. Okay.
Right. And I think what it is truly, because I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, and, she was letting me know, like, one of her cousins actually did buy a CPN, and she's one of the people where it really did help her credit. And she did it. I don't know if she did it to get an apartment or something like that, but I didn't even want to hear the rest of the story. I just said, you know what? I don't want to hear the rest. I don't need to know nothing else, because it's always that one person that it worked for that makes everybody think they're going to be just as lucky. It's illegal. Google it, you guys. People. And if I can say this, people on YouTube do tend, especially in the credit space, they tend to pivot to things that are, popular in the moment.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this so I can stress it to the audience. People are doing that for AdSense. Okay. They're doing it to get the views, to either get their watch hours or get paid. That's it. Okay. Because anybody that says this is for education purposes only, you get what you get, right? You gotta understand, YouTube is a business. So please stop following people that are telling you these get rich quick and these get an 800 credit score in 2 days. If you can get it that fast, it's going to go down even faster. So, yeah.
Okay. So now let's ask, we kind of touched on it, but let's get a little bit deeper. So I'm trying to improve my credit score. What should I avoid?
Ooh, what should you avoid?
Yes, ma'am.
Definitely avoid overspending.
Okay.
Because you're going to begin, like, for some reason, people treat high credit limits like it's an extension of income, and it's not. Okay. You did not just get $25,000 added to your annual income. Okay. That's, you just got $25,000 that you're going to have to pay back with interest. So do not let your lifestyle creep because your credit is going up. So be very mindful of that. Okay. You should also, I would say, make sure that you're paying everything on time. I would say keeping it, my sweet spot is honestly 30% as far as your utilization goes. But if you, and that's because I work with people that are just getting started. But if you can keep your utilization anywhere under 9%, that's great. I would say avoid credit cards with low credit limits because it's very easy to max them out.
Okay.
That's where a lot of people get messed up because they just want any old credit card. So they'll take any limit. And it's like, okay, y'all, credit cards with low limits, that's like a 6-month game. We want to get out of that. Okay. So I would also say don't apply for everything under the sun. Just go for like maybe 5 credit cards at the most. And you should do that over like a 2-year period.
Okay.
I think that those are some great places for people to start. That's that's really what I would do. And the things I told you guys before, you got to get a good credit mix. So get you a couple of credit cards, get you a couple of installments. That's what I would do. But I would do self-funded if you could.
Okay. So let me ask you a question, because we get told some of the ways to which improve your credit. I call them, because I come out of marketing, we call them black hat techniques. So we hear about like credit sweeps, where they essentially wipe your whole credit history with the goal of building it back up. So are you familiar with people trying to use that tactic to improve their credit score?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's right up there with CPNs. That's illegal. Because we all know about the girl. I'm not going to say her name just because I just don't want to. But we know about the gal that basically got tapped on the butt for doing that. Credit sweeps are highly illegal. I have, in all of the clients I've ever worked with, I've only had 1 or 2 legit be victims of identity theft. Okay, because identity theft actually technically happens more to senior citizens. I only know that again because I audit a lot of their paperwork with HUD. They get their identity stolen all the time, y'all. All the time. Like, you can have somebody living in California, but somehow they're employed for like 5 years in New York. How did that happen? Right? So highly illegal, because you got to really think about what you're doing. To do a credit sweep, like for me as a credit repair specialist, I have to have you go and get a police report to say that your identity was stolen. You have to go down to the police station, make up an entire lie, tell an entire story to an unsuspecting police officer, and then get a copy of that, give it to me. So now I'm an accomplice, and the cop is too, but he didn't know. And I'm mailing that to a government agency. They're not really, they're a private agency, the credit bureaus. But just think about that. You're filing a false police report. Okay, so that's already a crime. You're utilizing resources that illegally, so you're going to get sued by the city or town or whoever. And really, you're just, I don't know. It's something that's just not worth it. And then once you do the entire sweep, okay, that's fine. But now you're starting over from scratch, right? So 9 times out of 10, because you took that easy way out, you're going to be in the same spot again in 5 years. Like, you're still going to run up all your credit. You're still going to make the same mistakes because you have not learned your lesson. And now you've initiated like an actual crime. You know what I mean? To do it. So to me, it's just not worth it. There's big money in credit sweeping because people are so desperate to just wipe things away, which is why this young lady made so much money. But if you want to get rich quick, save your money, put it in a foreign account, and leave the country, go ahead and do credit sweeps. Whatever. Do what you want to do. But I would say don't do it unless you're a true victim of identity theft.
Okay, I understand.
Because I think most people don't understand how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they're looking at the result and don't necessarily know what they're really getting themselves involved in. So we just want to make sure that we cover it all, because we got so many people that are thinking this is an avenue to get what they want. And then when it falls apart, they don't know what they're really involved in. So we want to make sure that at least they got some information so they can make a proper decision with their credit. And let me ask you about usage. What did you say the usage percentage that you believe it should be?
I truly believe if you're just starting out, your utilization should not be above 30%. Okay. And the reason being, if we could just break it down really quick, the 2 most important areas on your credit report, as far as like the makeup of it, your payment history is 35% of your credit score. Okay. So the next biggest one is 30%, which is your credit utilization. So payment history and how much credit you're using versus how much available credit you have is 65% of your score altogether. Okay. So if you are just starting out, honestly speaking, I'm not going to ask you to try to get down to that, that 7%, 9% utilization, because you're taking baby steps, right? And I have run up my credit to where it's like 30% on each card that I have. And my score didn't move at all. But when I started paying it down, yes, of course, it's going to go up. But it's not this monumentous thing that people are thinking. Your score really starts to dwindle when you get into like the 40%, the 50%, because 50%, they're going to round it up and say, okay, this person's going up to, you're basically working on maxing out that credit card. So, but 30%, that's like what, 1/3? Right? A little under 1/3 or something like that.
Yes, like
so when you really look at it that way, it's like, if you can just kind of keep that across the board and then just work on making it lower over time, you're going to be good to go. Like, utilization is one of the easiest things to catapult your score to the moon if you really play it right. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
and that's why I said again, the credit score itself, it can be manipulated so much, Dave. That's why a lot of lenders don't really look at it. It's like they do, but they're still looking at what your credit report is made of. Because I can have a 700 and have a ton of debt out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I say 30% if you are just starting out. But if you're like in that expert level, I mean, I would say keep it below 7 to 9, something like that.
70% to 90%.
Oh no, 7s, like literally 7% utilization.
Okay.
So if you have $100 credit card with a $100 credit limit, do not use more than $7. If you're going with the 7% thing, if you're going with my 30%, then you wouldn't want to charge more than $30. Okay.
So can I ask you a question real quick? Because I think this is the challenge a lot of people have. So let's say I get my first card. Let's say it's 1K, right? So we're gonna do the 30% usage, which means I can spend like $300. Okay, how can I go? Like, what can I buy? I can't go shopping. I can't do nothing because I only can spend $300.
Well, here's the thing that I want everybody to know: the credit reporting system is just based. It's just numbers, y'all. Like it's literally just numbers and dates. Okay. Credit card companies and your bank and everybody gives you all the answers right on your credit card bill. Is right on your credit card bill. Y'all have heard this. Okay. So think about it this way. Excuse me, y'all. So whenever your information gets blasted out to the credit bureau, that happens once a month. Okay. Once a month. The only thing you need to know how to do is figure out when it's getting blasted to the credit reporting agencies. That's all you need to know. So if I have a Visa, right, I just need to know when is this Visa card and my balance getting blasted to the credit bureau, because once it's there, it's frozen there for 30 days. Okay. So if your utilization is at that 30%, like you're talking about, it's your statement close date. That is when the snapshot is taken. Okay. So this is game. There are tons of videos about it, but people don't be seeming to listen to it. That is the biggest thing that you need to know. That's going to get you a good credit score. You could literally pay it down, pay that $1,000 you were talking about, pay it down to $10. When your statement close date for your credit card is there, just make sure that $10, make sure that's all that you have that's reporting. When that gets blasted out, as soon as the credit reporting agency captures that, you can go and max that damn card out tomorrow if you want to, and they are not going to know. As long as you have it paid down by the statement close date. So look at your credit card statements, y'all. It's not your due date. Your due date is just, they're going to take that snapshot to say, yes, you paid it on time. But the activity on your bill by your statement close date is what is actually reported. That's that history. That's where they say, oh, this is your high limit. This is your credit limit. This is how much credit you're actually utilizing right now. Is that making sense?
Yes, making sense.
I feel like that's the main thing that most people miss. That's 30% of your credit score right there. If you just learn how to manipulate the algorithm that way.
Okay.
When I learned that, Dave, oh my God.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense.
Man, because like I said, they only report it once a month. So if you have that, just find out that date. And I'll tell you this. This is how I figured that it really did make sense. I called my credit union one day, and this is how you know. When you ask your banker a question and they say that they can't answer, you done tapped into something. Because I called them and said, hey, is my statement close date the day you report all of my balances and like the activity and stuff? The guy wouldn't answer. He's like, I can't answer that question. Jackpot. Once I knew that, yeah. So statement close date, y'all. It's right in the corner of your credit card bill.
Okay. So now I'll ask you a question. So we have the person in society. They may have had issues with credit. They may be struggling, and they may say, you know what, I'm just not going to deal with credit. I'm just going to go cash.
Okay.
Right. Can I go cash in this system and just be everything? I'm going to just pay cash. Kind of like, the guy that got a real big personal finance channel, sells a lot of products in the space, and he doesn't believe in any credit at all. He thinks people can buy like a $250,000 house in cash.
Oh, you mean the guy that filed for bankruptcy in his 20s?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about all that, but I mean, like this idea that you're gonna like buy $250,000, especially houses now. You know, you're
Right.
going to buy houses in this market and cars and college and everything's going to be cash out the pocket. Can you go cash in this system and still live the life that you want based on your experience in the credit space?
No, you cannot unless you're a drug
Okay.
dealer. And here's the thing. And here's the thing.
And then
And
they're going to come take the money anyway.
that could be a doctor. I mean, we all pushing something. But
Yeah.
anyway, so but no, you can't. And when I had really bad credit, that's exactly what I did. And I ended up like just so broke because
Okay.
at the end of the day, you're paying cash. There is no paper trail. Cash businesses they're also doing crackdowns on those too, because as you know, what is it, Venmo, PayPal, all of these digital wallets, so to
Cash
speak.
out.
Yeah, and it's like if you have over $600 that get put into that, because that's kind of like a cash type thing. A lot of people with cash businesses use those apps. $600 or more over the course of the year, you're getting reported to the IRS anyway. So if you cash people think that the government isn't going to find a way to find you, they will. They will, because if I paid you something, I paid you cash, it's going to be a write-off for me. So, I mean, the government's going to get what they need either way is what I'm trying to say. Paying cash for everything, it sounds like a noble idea, but when you go, like you said, to apply for that home loan, what do you have to show for? They're not going to take cash from you. You can't even fly with more than $10,000 cash.
Yeah.
Good luck going overseas and buying that house that you want. Good luck. You're not going to use a bank. You're not going to do anything. Like, come on. And at the end of the day, we also understand that, I believe anyway, interest is really what helps the banking industry stay in business. So you're really not going to be able to get away with just using dollar bills. It doesn't make sense to me. And some people won't even take your cash, right? There are some companies that won't take cash. I can't pay my rent with cash. So I guess I'm confused because I did it when I did it because I had to. It was desperate measures, right? So I don't know. There's just something suspicious about people that pay cash for everything, and lenders, and that's just how you look suspicious. I don't know, Dave. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's something people want to just examine, because I think it's something you talked about. It's something called a federal forfeiture law. And so if you're moving through the airport, even if they pull you over and you have large amounts of cash, they can seize it. And then you now have to go prove that it wasn't created or generated doing something illegal, which can be very difficult. And they're still holding your cash while you're trying to prove that. Then that's one of the disadvantages of having large amounts of cash. 2, you can get robbed for it. 3, if people feel that you got large amounts of cash in your home or things of that nature, they're going to come rob you for it.
Yeah.
So I just think this idea that I can just be on some Pablo Escobar stuff where I got $3 million in my backyard, just cash, and I'm just going to keep spending cash. I don't know if that's practical, but I think people that have had a lot of issues with credit, they think that may be the solution, and it may be the solution short term until you learn how to build your credit back up. So that's why I kind of wanted you to speak to that.
Yeah. And if you are a person that carries large amounts of cash, because I always think it's good to have some sort of like cash, not necessarily on your person, but you need to be in possession of cash, just because you never know what's going to happen out here. I mean, 2020 taught me a lot, and I needed to have cash on hand. What I though, if you're and if you're a person that has, access to a lot of cash, you are already ahead of a whole lot of people, because you can actually get a secure credit card. Like I was talking about, there are some secure credit cards where you could go up to like $10,000 if you want to.
Okay.
So now you have a $10,000 credit line that's reporting onto your credit report. Right. And this is for my people that maybe, how can I explain it? Because I usually tell my clients, because I like them to do more than one thing at once. Okay. Like with the secure credit card, again, like I said, the way that it works, you put the money in the bank, that's your collateral. Okay, that's your credit line. Now you got to think about it. When you have an account with the credit union, if they put it in a savings account, it's growing interest, right? Yeah. So once you close that credit card, or the credit card unsecures, which means you get your money back, and now you have a credit line that you're using for the bank, you're also gaining interest in that collateral account. Okay. So I would be taking that cash and moving it around and like putting it in the credit system, because you're going to actually be able to benefit more. Open up a couple of credit cards with that cash.
Okay. That makes sense.
What are y'all doing?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I would say, like I said, make sure before you open the secure credit card that it unsecures, because when it unsecures, you getting that money back.
Yeah.
right? And then you're using their credit. Same thing with the self-funded installment loans that are out there.
Okay.
Same thing happens. You put money in every single month, but you're also gaining interest on that account. So when you come to the end of that installment note, all the money that you put in as your monthly payment, that goes back into your pocket. So you see how you can be creative with credit and also learn how to save and be more financially astute
Yeah.
in your credit journey. So these are little things people don't think about. They're just thinking, I'm going to apply for a credit card and then I'm going to go into debt. It's like, no, when you play with your own money in the credit game, you treat it a lot differently and you pay those bills because that's your money that's floating out there. You're just doing that so you could get it reported to the credit bureau, right? They don't know if you're playing with your own money or not. So anyway, I'm all about changing perspectives on how to build your credit. So a lot of people don't realize that they have more control. So if you had that cash, I said all that to say, you need to be opening up some secure credit cards.
Okay.
Or a
definitely.
Navy Federal pledge loan if you would Navy Federal.
Okay. All right. So let's go into how you've been able to help people with their credit issues and kind of speak to some of the success stories that you've been able to create in that particular space.
Definitely. So I would say 90% of the people that I work with, a lot of people are shocked by this. I said it in another video. 80% of my clients are men.
Okay.
Just so y'all know. I don't know what that's about. Only y'all know. But they are able to get homes. I have people that literally came to me with like a 500 something. And we were able to get them to where they could get qualified for a house. I've even had people where they were just, this shy of being able to qualify for a house. And whoever they were working with for their loan actually told them what they needed to work on. So we were able to get those people squared away. Now, the other thing is I also have clients that want to get something as basic as a car. Some of them want to get refinanced, right? They want to get that better interest rate. So that's what I get a lot of people that want to purchase homes. They want to refi, or they want to get their credit situated so they can go into the business credit space, right? Because that's another thing people don't realize. Your personal credit has to be pretty good in order to get business credit. So that's kind of a new area that I'm finding, I guess, because the YouTube channel might be getting out there a little bit more. People that want to build for business credit are coming to me as well.
So let me ask you a question real quick, and then I want you to continue.
Yeah.
So what about the people that's trying to get the business credit so I can get like the G-Wagon?
I think that the G-Wagon thing is so goofy because you can't go from like a Toyota Corolla to a G-Wagon just because, right? Because look at it this way. When we do that, we get the business credit. That's all great. Put the G-Wagon in your name. It's a write-off. Okay, cool. You have $100,000 write-off, but your business hasn't even grossed $10,000.
Yeah.
So you're setting yourself up because remember, anytime you want to go for the bigger loans in business credit or personal credit, they want to see your tax returns. They want to see what is actually going on financially with you. So having all of these massive write-offs just because somebody on YouTube told you that it's a cool one to do, you're messing yourself up because you're not going to have the income to back up the big $100,000, $200,000 loan that you're going to want in the future.
But let me ask you a question with that. Because I never understood, because it's really not my thing to be high profile like that. So I never looked into it. But I get the bins, right, off the business credit. But don't I still have to pay for the car?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like you're financing this car. Okay, cool. But does your business gross enough income to actually do that?
Okay, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, no, y'all. I mean, everybody knows I love my car. I'm gonna stay with my Mustang. I don't need a big old G-Wagon. Somebody said an F-250 in the chat. I don't need an F-250 either. I might be going to Texas though, so I might need that. But but that's the thing. It's like, again, back to the financial literacy. We're doing these interesting or these like we're taking these shortcuts without looking at the full scope of what's going on.
Okay.
A write-off has to counteract the income.
Okay.
But if you don't have the income, how are you writing this off? You're going to be negative on your tax return, which means you're never going to get business credit. So it's like, these are just people that don't really have a plan. And the people that are telling you to do it, they have like multiple businesses. Some of them are scammers, yes, but they have multiple businesses. They have multiple streams of income. They're not the person sitting on the couch with like one hustle. That's not who is actually doing this. So I think you also have to take into account who you're getting this information from and what their lifestyle and their business truly looks like. Because it doesn't fit. It's not a one size fits all kind of thing.
Okay.
Right. Like I said, I wouldn't do it. And I work in the credit space. I wouldn't do it. I would rather use business credit towards a house or something under one of my LLCs. That's what I would rather do versus getting a G-Wagon. I live in the woods. Who needs a G-Wagon?
I mean, that's the thing. And I mean, the big one is the thing. They're not even doing the G-Wagon. They're doing the big Mercedes-Benz SUV.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the thing where I'm at. But I'm in a real cosmopolitan city, so they into that type of stuff.
What's that? It's something. What kind of van do they call that? Is that what you're talking about?
It's a Benz, but it's not like the G. The G-Wagon's like boxy.
Yeah.
But it's a Benz, but it's like a big SUV. And I had never seen that till I moved here.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like, I mean, it's a real big SUV, and they like everywhere. So that's like the thing now.
I wonder if it's that van, because I see a lot of people transport stuff in those things.
Yeah, so it's not the Sprinter, but it's
that's what I was thinking.
It's not a Sprinter, but it's
something else.
Yeah, it's like a SUV. It's a 4-door Benz SUV. It's real big.
Oh.
And that's the thing out here. Not like everybody has them.
Uh-huh.
So I wasn't even aware because I'm not in the luxury cars like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a real cosmopolitan city, so it's always interesting what's the big car that people are willing to buy or finance or whatever, and they're willing to do whatever they got to do to get it.
Yeah, and most people where I'm at, it would be a truck, an F 250, 350, because it has to just weigh over 6,000 pounds. Okay. So as long as it's in that weight category, then obviously you can use it. And I would say if you're gonna go that route, I would do something that's more sensible, right? Because you don't want to have like $1,000 car note.
That's what they are. They waited. That's cheap now. Car notes now is pushing $2,000.
I know, and there's that Instagram video where everybody had like 1,500, 1,200, and they say it like it's nothing. No, guys, this is why you get with a credit union, so you don't have an astronomical car note like that.
Okay.
So, and if I could give that advice to everybody, when you go for vehicles, get the loan through your bank. So all you have to do is walk to the dealership with the check, because if you go in for their financing at the dealership, they are going to screw you 100%. It's going to be double-digit interest every single time.
Yeah.
Somebody said Hellcats.
Yeah.
No Hellcats, y'all, because they're discontinuing the Chargers and the Challengers. I wouldn't buy a Hellcat.
Yeah, they're gonna find out. I told them about them Dodgers. They're gonna find out the hard way.
I wouldn't even use them. Y'all just read the news that they're gonna stop manufacturing those cars. What are y'all doing?
They're gonna find out.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you. Everybody, a lot of these people on YouTube, they talking credit, yada yada yada. I knew what attracted me to your message, but for the people that may not know you, may not be familiar with your channel or also with your business, what makes you different than everybody else talking about credit?
I will say that I'm not sensational, and I'm gonna gripe. I think that's why YouTube doesn't push my channel, because I'm not sensational and I don't lie. Building credit is very simple. You know what I mean? I don't give you complex methods because I'm not there yet myself. I'm not in that, $100,000 and doing all that kind of stuff. We ain't there yet. I work with beginners that are credit invisible and credit unscorable. Those are the two places that, honestly, I don't want to say it's the powers that be, but they're okay keeping you unscorable and credit invisible, because can we talk about this real fast?
Yeah, go ahead and do what you got to do. Because my opinion on credit, so I'm giving them to you, so we don't really get in trouble.
People that pay cash, y'all keep the economy running, because they're like, yes, and subprime credit is really what keeps subprime
this thing going.
It keeps everything going. It is not those of us that have low interest rates with high credit lines. We are not what keeps the credit system going. It is people that don't have money and don't have good credit. Because when you look at it, the lower end subprime credit cards always have super high annual fees, and they always have crazy interest rates. And because you're low income, they know you're probably not going to be able to pay. So now they have you for the late fee. Yep. And you already know, once you had a late fee, they raise your interest rate to as high as it can possibly go. It is 36% in some states. Tell me that poor people are not keeping the economy going, at least when it comes to credit.
Yeah.
Y'all, they are gaming y'all so bad. And I can't say y'all, I'll say us, because I was there too. And once I realized that they were playing us like that, I'm like, oh my God, we are keeping this thing running. But sadly, Black people have the worst credit scores in the country. How? So I like to bring people, like, I want to just simplify it for you.
Okay.
Make it digestible. I know I talk a lot, y'all, but this is why we do consultations. But it's like, I want you to understand wherever you are right now in your credit, you could literally be somewhere exponentially different in like 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
Give me 18 to 24 months with you, please. So yeah, I'm beginner friendly, very beginner friendly. And I think that kind of is why I appeal to certain people. Because I will say I attract a certain kind of client, and they're people that are tired of being broke, tired of being credit invisible, and they want to get started, and they are comfortable with my baby steps, not the Dave Ramsey kind, but the baby steps I give them. So
Okay.
yeah.
So then how can people find you? And do you have something going on currently right now for people?
Oh, so right now, I am doing consultations. So we
Okay.
have a few. You can do a 15-minute, a 30-minute, or an hour consultation with me. We can go over your credit reports. I will review them, tell you exactly what you need to do to get where you need to go. Okay. Also, if you want to start credit repair service, the fee that you pay for consultation goes into your first month of service. So, we're here for everything, y'all. You want us to take a look at it and give you some advice? We can do that. You want me to actually get hands-on and start your credit repair process? We could do that too. So that's pretty much where we are and what I offer. But I will tell y'all, my prices for consultations will be going up in about 7 days. So if you want to talk to me directly, I would say you need to get on it pretty quickly.
Okay.
Pretty quickly. Yes.
Definitely. Okay. So
and
do you have any, like, for people that, want to better understand their credit, want to make sure that they get that credit score? Do you have any closing thoughts before we get up on out of here?
Yes, I would say you guys be prepared, because even though, we're having student loan debt forgiveness, which I believe is on pause right now,
Okay.
let's stop waiting for people to hand us things for free. Okay. You can only get so much free information. You can only get so many handouts from the government before you are seriously going to have to take a look at your personal economy and get it together. Okay. If you need to make more money, make more money. You need to get credit, get credit. Okay. Whatever you want to do is not as complicated as you think it is. Just start with whatever your goal is and work backwards. If somebody has a resource that you could use, call them, spend the money. It is okay. I tell people all the time, you got to start thinking like people with a little bit more money. The investment that you put in, and kind of like what you do, Dave, and then I'm going to stop. The money someone would pay you or me to get the help that they need, it's a steal. Yeah. Because compared to how much they're going to excel and be able to make after they talk to us and after they work with us, honestly, we probably we don't charge enough, if I can say that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Seriously, it's a flash in the pan compared to how successful they're going to actually be once they deal with us. You know what I'm saying?
I understand 100% what you're saying. And let me say something to that before, and I'm gonna let you keep going. Is, we have systems in the country, and I was talking about this today, to where, like, you got to go in debt $100,000 to make 60 grand a year. And then now you got to pay somebody else to try to figure out how to solve that problem. And they don't care because you're going to pay them 60 grand. So I think a lot of us, and I'm talking about that, are providers. We are very much underpriced. Because once we're very much underpriced in comparison to the problems that we solve. And one day we're going to stop being underpriced. But I just think people don't realize how underpriced and how accessible we are, because we have major institutions in our country that charge people a ridiculous amount of money, and you finance it with no problem at all. They have all that arranged to make sure that you can get your financing. And they're asking you for, we're going to give you the opportunity to apply for a job that's going to cost you $60,000. And that's it. Just the opportunity to apply. There's no guarantee of anything. We're going to give you the opportunity to get your resume accepted. And it's going to cost you $60,000 though. And I don't think people realize that's the deal they're signing up for.
Exactly. And I think it's all about perspective. And that's what it is. It's really the other thing also, I think, that we want to become more comfortable with as a people. And I do mean Black people. I will just say it. we need to get more comfortable with working together and
Yeah.
stop trying to climb over each other, because you're going to find in the next few years, even right now, group economics and all of that is going to be necessary. You
Yeah.
need to look at every group out here that either comes to this country newly or is here and has already built their communities. These people are doing exactly what they should be doing. They keep things in their communities and they build. Okay. We all know. Look, I did a live stream the other day.
Okay.
There are literally websites, and I think Erica talks about this too. Actually, I know she does. There are credit card websites where if you come to this country and you're from a specific group, they tell you how to get credit.
Yeah.
I was just literally reading. There is a company out there that is offering personal loans to people with no documentation,
Yeah.
no ID, no green card, no nothing. And we're over here sleeping.
Yeah.
So y'all are gonna miss people like me, Diamond Dave, and everybody else. That's just they're gone. They're gonna leave y'all. You got to jump on this train right now. Find you somebody that you trust, that you want to work with. If it ain't me, if it ain't Dave, you better find somebody that you trust, because at the end of the day, we're getting left behind, guys. We're getting left behind. That's I don't know how else to say it. I'm trying to find my links right now too, but I think I'm done.
Okay, we'll put them in the description. Okay, so I appreciate you coming through. I want to just encourage everybody, make sure you tap in. Like you say, you got 7 days before she moves things up, and everybody's doing that. The whole country, from a commerce standpoint, is raising their prices towards the end of the year, going into the new year, just because of inflation. So we're just going along with what the trend is because of the rate inflation, CPI 7.1. So you got to really understand that's the environment that we're currently in. But I want to really encourage you to make sure that you get on top of your credit going into this new year. Because what you don't want to do is get left behind, and you don't want to close the door for a lot of opportunities that could be available to you if you just had your credit in the right position.
100. And I do have the link now. I was able to put it together. Link? Yes, sir. Okay, so here's where you guys want to go. Okay. And you can book your consultation. There's a little blue button right at the very beginning as soon as you get to the website. So it is mycreditcall.com.
Okay.
All right. So that's oh no, did you want to type it in there, Dave?
I'll type it in. So it's my.
Yeah. So my, and then credit.
Okay.
And then call.
Oh, let me put it right here. Okay. My credit.
Yeah.
C-A-L.
So credit call. C-A-L-L.
Okay.
.com.
Okay. So let me put that up there. Make sure I spelled it right. So that's it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you can go on over there and then book your consultation. And like I said, the prices will be going up for in the next 7 days. Again, you guys, just if it seems like a lot, work backwards, divided by 4, save up for a month and give me a call. All right. It's pretty reasonable, actually. But yeah. So just think about investing in yourself. It is one thing that we are not taught to do in our community. We're taught to really kind of go out there and work for other people. But I think it's time we invest in ourselves, and credit is a great way for us to do that. So I hope to help you guys on your journey if you are just starting out. And Dave, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate you
coming through. I'm glad we was able to get into you before the year ended, because I haven't, I used to watch your live streams late at night before I was getting ready to go to bed.
And I
be coming on like 2 in the morning. Yeah. I used to watch your live streams late at night, and I'd be like, I want to get her on, but I just got to make sure I have the scheduling in place. Yeah. So we had to find it. But yeah, you would come on like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning.
And I'm on the East Coast, so I'm really staying up late.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but everybody gets motivated at different times. I understand that, because I used to be a big nighter. I try to get a bit earlier now. But everybody gets creatively motivated at different times of the day. So I can understand if you're just in a moment, you just go for it.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, hopefully I can have you come over to the channel pretty soon. I think it'll be great, because there's so much that I want to pick your brain about that I think my audience would find very beneficial. So
yeah, we could do that.
Yes. That would be great. And I'll try to do it earlier than midnight. So
I feel you. All right. So everybody get those likes up. Like I said, share this out to people. Let people know about the particular offer. And we appreciate everybody for coming through. We'll talk to y'all later. Make sure y'all stay safe out there.